video, we're going to cover molecules and chemical bonds. In the previous lecture, we covered the structure of atoms. In this lecture, we're going to look at how atoms combine to form molecules and ionic compounds. We're going to break down covalent bonds, ionic bonds, weak chemical interactions, and how chemical reactions make and break chemical bonds. Let's get started. Okay, in the previous lecture, we talked about valence electrons and valence shells, and how the chemical behavior of an atom depends mostly on the number of valence electrons, or the outermost electrons. I mentioned how atoms with a full or completed valence shell is chemically unreactive, and they will not interact readily with other atoms. Why? Because they're happy, they're complete, they're whole, so they don't need to interact with other atoms to complete them. Life Lessons 101. So atoms with incomplete valence shells can interact with other atoms in such a way that each atom completes its valence shell. The atoms either share or transfer valence electrons. And what happens is these atoms who are sharing or transferring electrons stay close together. They are attracted to each other. They are held by chemical bonds. So a chemical bond is an attraction between two atoms where they share or transfer their valence electrons, resulting in the bonded atoms completing their outer electron shell or valence shell. And we're going to break down the different types of bonds. So now let's subtract complexity and go through covalent bonds. So what is a covalent bond? A covalent bond is the sharing of one or more pairs of outer shell electrons by two atoms. This is a strong chemical bond. Let's go through an example. Let's take hydrogen. Hydrogen has one valence electron occupying the first shell. If you recall, the first shell has a capacity to hold two electrons. So when the two hydrogen atoms approach each other, they can share electrons. The electron of each atom is attracted to the proton in the other nucleus. The result is each hydrogen atom now has two electrons, and they both have a full valence shell. This is a hydrogen molecule. Look at these two cuties here, sharing one pair of electrons, and now they're both complete. They're both happy. So a molecule consists of two or more atoms held together by covalent bonds, whereas a compound consists of two or more different elements combined. They are joined chemically. And it's important to note that all compounds are molecules, but not all molecules are compounds. The molecular formula of a hydrogen molecule is H2, meaning there are two atoms of hydrogen. And there are several ways you can show covalent bonds. One way is through an electron distribution diagram, just like this. You can use a Lewis dot structure. So the dots here represent the valence electrons, or you can use a structural formula where the line represents a single bond, a pair of shared electrons. Let's go through another example using oxygen. Oxygen has 6 electrons in its second electron shell, and if you recall, the second shell has the capacity to hold up to 8 electrons. We can form a molecule with two oxygen atoms sharing two pairs of valence electrons, forming a double bond. A double bond is when two atoms share two pairs of electrons, and we can represent this with a double line connecting the two chemical symbols for the atom. Now, the bonding capacity of atoms is called the atom's valence, which is typically the number of electrons needed to complete the atom's valence shell. So the valence of oxygen is 2, and going back to hydrogen, the valence is 1. Okay? Now, let's go back to bonds. In many bonds, the electrons are not shared equally by the two atoms. An example is the bonds in a water molecule. It consists of two hydrogen atoms covalently bonded to a single oxygen atom. In a molecule of water, the electrons are more likely to be located near the oxygen atom. The attraction of a particular atom for the electrons of a covalent bond is called its electronegativity. So electronegativity is the ability of the atom to attract electrons more readily. The more electronegative an atom is, the more strongly it attracts shared electrons toward itself. So oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen, and so it's going to attract electrons more readily than hydrogen. The oxygen in a molecule of water has a slight negative charge. We can indicate this by the Greek letter delta with a minus sign, delta minus, while the two hydrogen atoms have a slight positive charge, delta plus. This type of interaction is called a polar covalent bond. The electrons are shared unequally between the hydrogen and oxygen. Talk about being selfish. The law of sharing is caring goes out the door, okay? The more electronegative an atom is, the more it strongly attracts the shared electrons towards itself. However, sharing is caring comes back in the room, okay, in a covalent bond between two atoms of the same elements because the electrons are shared equally. The two atoms of the same element have the same electronegativity. This is called a non-polar covalent bond, which means that the atoms share the pair of electrons almost equally, okay? There's no regions of slightly positive or slightly negative charges. So the bonding between these two oxygen atoms is a non-polar covalent bond because the two oxygen atoms have the same electronegativity. Okay, so that's covalent bonding, the sharing of one or more pair of valence electrons. Let's now move on to ionic bonds. Alright, so an ionic bond forms between oppositely charged ions. An ion is an atom or a group of atoms that have lost or gained electrons. Ionic bonding occurs when an atom of very high electronegativity is paired with an atom of very low electronegativity, and the more electronegative atom steals the electrons from the less electronegative atom. So talk about being selfish. This is a really great way to remember ionic bonds. The atom of very high electronegativity steals electrons from the less electronegative atom. In this case, the atom that stole an electron has a negative charge and is a negative ion, also called an anion. And the atom that lost an electron has a positive charge and is a positive ion, also called a cation. The way I remember this is cation. Cats have paws, so it's positive, okay? It's a really great way to remember between cation and anion. Because cations and anions have opposite charges, they attract each other. And this type of attraction is called ionic bonding. Opposites attract. Let's go through an example using sodium chloride or table salt. Okay, a sodium atom has a total of 11 electrons with one valence electron in the third shell. And a chloride atom has 17 electrons with 7 electrons in its valence shell. And there's a huge difference in electronegativity. And so the valence electron of sodium is transferred to the chlorine atom, and both atoms complete their valence shells. And also the second shell of sodium becomes the valence shell. The end result here, sodium has 10 electrons and has a net electrical charge of +1 because it lost an electron, 1 unit of negative electrical charge. In this case, sodium has become a cation. Cats have paws, it's positive. Now with chlorine, it gained an extra electron. So it now has 18 electrons. Valence shell is full, giving it a net electrical charge of -1, and it's now an anion, a negative ion. Recall that compounds form when two or more atoms of different elements combine, and compounds formed by ionic bonds are called ionic compounds or salts. Okay, so that's sodium chloride. Let's now use another example, but this time where the compound has a different number of cations and anions. Let's use magnesium chloride, which consists of 1 magnesium ion and 2 chloride ions. Take a look at magnesium here. It needs to lose 2 valence electrons to have a complete valence shell. So when it becomes a cation, it has a net charge of 2 plus 2, whereas chlorine only needs to gain 1 electron. So 1 magnesium cation can form ionic bonds with 2 chloride anions. Alright, so that's ionic bonds. Let's now discuss weak chemical interactions. There are several types of weak chemical interactions that are important in organisms. The benefit of weak interactions is the reversibility property. Two molecules can come together influence each other, and separate. There is hydrogen bonds and van der Waals interactions. Let's talk about hydrogen bonds first. Recall that when a hydrogen atom is covalently bonded to an electronegative atom, the hydrogen atom gains a partial positive charge. Because of this partial positive charge, it can be attracted to the slightly negative atom of a polar covalent bond in another molecule, or in another region of the same molecule. This non-covalent attraction between a hydrogen and an electronegative atom of another molecule is called a hydrogen bond. So here's an example between a water molecule and ammonia. This dotted line represents the hydrogen bond. The hydrogen atom of water is attracted to the slightly negative charged nitrogen atom of ammonia. Okay, so that's hydrogen bonds. The other type of weak chemical interaction is called van der Waals interactions. We talked about how polar covalent bonds have regions of positive and negative charges, but molecules with non-polar covalent bonds may also have charged areas, as electrons are not always shared equally. And this results in atoms and molecules sticking to one another, called van der Waals interactions. Very weak interactions. But if there are a lot of these interactions occurring, it can be quite strong, which is why lizards can walk straight up a wall. Fun fact, I'm not really a fan of lizards, so I couldn't get myself to draw a lizard to show you an example of how this works. So we're just going to skip it, okay? So those are weak chemical interactions, hydrogen bonds and van der Waals interactions. Let's now move on to the last part of this lecture and talk about how chemical reactions make and break chemical bonds. Okay. Making and breaking chemical bonds are called chemical reactions. So let's take a look at how water is formed, because we talked about it earlier. This reaction involves hydrogen molecules and oxygen molecules, and the covalent bonds of these molecules are broken to form the new bonds of water. Let's write the equation for this reaction. On the left, we write the reactants, or starting materials. In this case, 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule, which produces the products, 2 water molecules. The 2 in the front here are the coefficients, which indicate the number of molecules involved. All the atoms and reactants must be accounted for in the product, because chemical reactions cannot create or destroy atoms. It can only rearrange them. You've probably heard matter is neither created nor destroyed, so we must have the same number of atoms before and after the chemical reaction or change. So that is molecules and chemical bonds. In this lecture, we learned the different bonds that can form between atoms. Covalent bonding, which is the sharing of one or more pair of valence electrons, ionic bonding, which is the transfer of electrons, and weak chemical interactions, which includes hydrogen bonds and van der Waals interactions. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to EKG Science so you don't miss a single lecture. And remember, subtract complexity and slow down. To study the next lecture, simply click the next video, or you can view the entire playlist. Hey, stop procrastinating!